Over here, I've put the 3mm LED inside. Legs are sticking through. It's slightly glued into place. I had to trim the top off, and I've drilled a hole through this guy here to give that as much room, and this is ready to be glued down now. The only reason I'm able to use super glue on this model without crazing the plastic is because it's all been coated with Rust-Oleum frosted clear. I suppose the effect would be same. No, not frosted clear, frosted glass. The effect would be the same if you clear coated, matte coated, gloss coated, probably even if you shot the model with floor wax. That should all work to protect the plastic from the glue. Maybe floor wax wouldn't be as good, I don't know. Got a couple cat hairs in here I'm trying to get rid of. So yeah, that is all set. One resistor on the leg and ready to go. Alright, so I've done a couple things here. Over on the bottom half, I've spread the resistors rather as far apart as I could, and I've also coated everything in rubber cement as well. So at this point, this is pretty much all set to go. And I'd rather have all the LEDs in the top or the bottom half. In this case, because of the single LED in the top, that simply means I gotta have some connection running between the two halves. And while I was at it, I figured I may as well throw the LED tape up in the top half here so I could avoid any of the problems down there. Not that this will solve problems, but I gotta see how it test fits together still. And this little ring of LED tape is glued to itself on the back there, and it's being held in place by the legs of the single LED up in top there. This negative wire heads straight to the leg, and the leg itself solders to the negative on this. The positive resistor goes over to the positive contact on the LED tape, and then I've just got this positive wire coming off of that as well. So this is totally malleable, shapeable. I can put it anywhere I want. And the trick is going to be soldering these two halves together so there isn't a lot of extra wire to get in the way inside there, and to also have a couple legs of wire coming out of this center ring, probably through one of these access points here, simply because they are hollow and these smaller ones are fully solid. Or at least they're hollow for the moment. What will happen is the legs or the arms from the outer ring will come into play at that point. Right now, I got some cutting to do right there, and we'll see how it goes.
Sorry.
Another step along, and what I've done is to wire 3 4-segment strips together with about the amount of wire needed to go in between. And I'm going to seal this off to the top because it's a little more convoluted in this than it is down here in this piece. At each of the edges, I'm putting a single dab of glue, rather a single drop, snugging that in close to the perimeter, dropping some baking soda in there to instantly seal it up, and when needed, apply another drop of glue. One thing I haven't quite figured out yet is where I'm going to solder all this together so that it will get the best power coverage I can give it here. And I'm just doing a first test fit here, and this is looking pretty good overall. It's a little tight in a couple spaces, but it's nothing that pressing it together isn't going to fix. Yeah, it's just out of registration, essentially. Alright, so now I just got to figure out where I'm going to wire this up to this and how I'm going to attach it to that, and we'll go from there. And here we are with a quick light test. Everything's looking good overall, no problems. I've decided to pull the negative wire off of that bus there and the positive off the end of that LED tape. I'm going to run them through these little notch doohickeys there. And to that end, I've already carved away part of the key that was there, and I'll have to do that in the other side as well. I got to put this together and see how this goes for actual power itself. So what I think I'm going to have to do is very delicate solder job, and once this is done I may not be able to pull this apart ever again. So yeah, let me look into this and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I don't know how much of the process I got of assembling this was. For the very final step, it was just a matter of putting every single clamp I have around the perimeter and a little of the inside and hope for the best. There's a little bit of pinching of the wires here, which is not going to allow that to be closed fully. I don't know if I can address that. It's a real dangerously tight small area to go playing with a razor blade. But overall everything went together fairly easily, so I was happy about that. Unfortunately, the warm white of the LED tape is not quite the same as the warm white of the single LEDs I've got going in there, so it makes things slightly tonally different. So let's fire this up and have a quick look at it. So unfortunately these thirds area here, the arms, I suppose what you could do is get a single segment and it just won't fit because of the height. You'd have to lay a single segment flat across the top, I suppose, because there's no way to have it pointing to the side, and of course that also makes it not very bright for lighting up this arm as well. It's impossible to light up these arms. There's just no way to do that. You have to hope for the best with the light coming off of all the other parts to light those up. So yeah, the warm LEDs are definitely much more yellow than the warm LED tape. That really surprises me. Switching over to a daylight filter on the white balance definitely makes the tones a little more even. Neither is really what you're seeing in person. The central top LED and these guys down here have a slightly yellowish tint, while the rest of the LEDs are not quite as yellow but still have a sunlight effect to them. So let me try even a third white balance and see what happens. The way the color ranges work with LEDs is that warm white is generally defined as anywhere between 2800 and 3500 degrees Kelvin. So if you imagine a charcoal cinder block or even a star, essentially what's happening is at 28 to 3500 you're getting a afternoon sunlight, or like a red giant. Essentially it's that really deep smoldering kind of burnt out embers just about, and then you go up from there into the cool whites at the other end of the range, which are like much closer to white dwarf stars, where they're just burning so hot and bright that they're bluish white. So all between that range of 2800 to I think 7000, 8000 Kelvin degrees is about where all whites fall into. So 5000, 5500 Kelvin is about noontime sunlight during the summer, for example. Once you get into the bluer whites, that's more associated with winters and colds and having a lot of water in the air. And warm whites are more early morning dawn, not quite, but more afternoon sunlight. And everything can fall in there. And even if you get to the lower ranges of 2200 Kelvin or even 1800 Kelvin, things get even redder. So it's a really wide range, and these two whites do fall in within that 2800 to 3500 range. I'll have to do a comparison video of showing all the vast ranges of whites that are available, because it's really kind of fascinating. However, with this, at the moment, that is about it. The next stages of this build